We're recording. So
you don't have to say that every time.
Just about, yeah. Well, I think that's become my intro. That's become part of my gimmick.
Oh, great. I look forward
We're
to that.
recording. Yeah, that is actually officially the default tangent intro. We're recording Leon C and Chris P for the episode 4, which is 4 in Deutsch. Episode 4 of the default tangent. 4 episodes. 4 episodes deep. I was going to do some housekeeping this today. I have my notes all written up. I can't find my notepad, so I'm going to save housekeeping until next week. So let's try and not do too many empty promises. Off the top of my head, I do know a few things though, so I can do a little bit of housekeeping. We never followed up on UFC.
Nope.
The score.
You never played it again after that video. So
yeah, just about to say. So we didn't really mess up on that one because we never played it again after that video. So the score remains what it was. And will remain that way for some time.
Yes, probably. I mean, I've still got it installed, but I'm not playing it anymore.
Same, I've still got it installed. I still like it. I like it. It's a good game. In fact, we'll play a bit.
Other games going on at the moment.
There is other games going on at the moment. Also, we were going to do, it was on the tip of my tongue, but I think I've forgotten it. I'll wait till I get the notepad back because then I can be more efficient in my things. It was just a correction, I think, on a particular character. We had Darth Maul's brother. What was his name again?
Have you forgotten?
I have.
Savage Opress.
Yes, Savage Opress. And then there was another character from Wasteland, Preston.
Preston Garvey.
Not Wasteland, sorry. Fallout 4, Preston Garvey from the settlements, and it was the Minutemen that we were trying to think of. So I just keep it as that for now.
That's a bad name for a group of blokes. Like
the Minutemen. Yeah.
For the record, yeah, it's not great.
It's the worst name ever, right? And it's funny because I don't think I was like familiar with the history of what the Minutemen were or was supposed to be when I first heard the term. And I thought that was like some kind of Grand Theft Auto kind of dirty humor. I thought they were called the Minutemen, and it was supposed to be like an innuendo. Maybe it is, but it's not.
No, I'm sure there's some kind of real world basis to that, but I'm not sure.
There is. Yeah, there is. We can come back on that as well.
Housekeeping for next week.
Housekeeping, the history behind the Minutemen. So I might even have an update mid podcast, just due to the thanks of Google. Are we keeping time as well? Because that was really the only other issue I wanted to address initially.
I wasn't, but I will now.
Now, and for the record, I'm on 12:44 my end, from what I can see. So yeah, every episode is increased in length in time, and up to last week we were increasing in views, which seemed good, but maybe last week was too long.
Yeah, we did not do that last week. I think we're still looking at about 12.
Plus, we also had a gap. We also had a gap where we had to repost.
It was like a day. It was like one day.
But you posted it once and then reposted it and got rid of the original one.
I mean, again, it was like 4 views at that point. So if we total them up, we're on to 16.
Well, put it this way. Every single view matters, and I am thankful for every single one. So anyone watching this, I do appreciate it. And you're not just a view. You're a view, and you're all equally as important to me. Because, even if one person takes a chat time to listen to this, that's, I appreciate that. So we have a number of topics to discuss today. Mainly getting to the one that's been kind of the theme to our whole series, Cyberpunk 2077. But I do feel that I'm glad we always spoke about this because I had more of a vested interest in Cyberpunk from speaking about it. And I love the shit show. I love it.
I think I'd have probably paid equal amount of attention to it if I wasn't doing this, but again, just like you, because it's been a shit show, so I'm not any extra excited, but I am quite excited for this.
What a shit show it's been. So initially, I think I was very forgiving initially because I kept forgetting that I was only being shown what they would allow us to see. I kept forgetting that. And what we were seeing still was not good. And it certainly was not, like you were saying the other day, 8 years in development good. This was going to change how we look at games. People were talking about this game introducing things that games have never done before. And like the way I felt this game was supposed to be, or the way I felt it was being pitched and advertised, was that
groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking. This is going to take us in new directions. And then you take a look at the gameplay, you take a look at the gun fighting and the hand-to-hand fighting. And don't get me wrong, from what we've been allowed to see, I don't think it looks bad, but I do not think we are seeing anything like what they promised. Anything at all.
I think
I have seen.
It is groundbreaking in the sense of games like 2K20 damaged it. Fallout then made it crumble, and now Cyberpunk has come in and just smashed the bottom floor to pieces. So the expectations people have now lowered. They've broken ground in the sense of making a bad game.
Fuck yeah! What I'm thinking is that like what we're being allowed to see as well is like the best, and I'm still seeing loads of glitches, and I'm still seeing.
Even from what I'm aware, there's like ironically tiers to this game.
Yeah,
you've got the PC, which runs pretty fine with the odd glitch bug, like a Bethesda pre-Fallout 76. You then got, I believe, the Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, which run basically the same. PS5 have major crashes all across the board. And anything PS4, Xbox One, One S, any of the original Xbox and PS4s are just a garbage fire.
Yeah. It's like from the reports, like from what I hear, from the stuff we're not seeing, it just sounds like completely fucking destroyed. And then, of course, we had the big fucking news this week, which made it super juicy, which I loved, because I do love the chaos. And this is where I'd love
PS4 thing?
Yeah, this is where I'd love to insert Michael Caine saying, like, the gif of, you know, some guys just want to watch the world burn. And then it's just us laughing at Cyberpunk. But that is how it is. Everyone's Joker these days. So
basically, Cyberpunk turned around and said to gamers, if you want refunds, talk to Sony. Sony then were like, yeah, we're not kind of down for that. There was a whole thing about who's going to get refunds. And Sony was like, stop this, can't be asked, I'm not even going to send it to you. So they took it off the store, which is fantastic.
And like, how bad does that make the game look? Because games don't, like, there's that massive thing. I've had friends who have tried to get refunds on downloaded games and failed miserably. You know, like, it's that non-refundable thing. Like, oh, you download this, you can't, you know, it's yours forever. So, like, giving games refunds back on things like that, like
digital, specifically digital.
Specifically, yeah. It just makes the game look so bad. Like, and I will never trust this game. Like, just to bring up a game similar, like No Man's Sky, right? It's on Games Pass. That game had such a bad first impression with me. Such a horrendous, that was a shit show, where the producers, developers, the main guy behind it, Sean, I'll find his name now, he just lied. He just lied. Like, he made promises and they were just lies. And I'm never going to play that game. I never want to waste time with that game.
I played it. It was air. I think the difference there is they both had equal hype, but No Man's Sky, when it released, it wasn't a patchy, buggy piece of crap. It just was nowhere near what people were told it was going to be. Whereas not only is Cyberpunk nowhere near where it's going to be, it's full of game-breaking glitches and crashes.
Sean Murray.
So I think Cyberpunk is worse.
Yeah, I think Cyberpunk is worse. I do think Cyberpunk.
If you weigh up the hype, the expectations, the waiting, the reputation, it's probably the worst released game or the worst received game ever.
When you weigh up the hype and the expectations and the build and the amount of time when we've gone through 2 generations of console, basically.
Yeah, I want to point it out to people because I mentioned this on Facebook and people were like, oh, just as it was announced this time doesn't mean they were making it. They were still working on The Witcher 3. I'm like, I don't care. If you tell me, basically, Cyberpunk was announced in 2012. the Xbox One was released in 2013. So Cyberpunk was announced during the Xbox 360 generation. We've since had the Xbox One and now the Xbox Series S and PS5, which is 3 console generations of development, 8 years of development, the majority of which was for the Xbox One and the PS4, which are the systems it runs the worst on. Even if they were still working on a different game in 2012, they shouldn't have friggin' announced it. Because they shouldn't, because they clearly couldn't get it ready in time.
Yeah, because when you think about it, why did they announce it? Like, to build hype. They announced it because ultimately they wanted to take our money for it. So when they got our money for it, it was fucking
We
shit.
still did. It made record sales. I think it's one of the fastest selling games ever. And it was terrible.
And the thing that really bugs me is that, like, when you talk about groundbreaking, when you talk about games that do things that games have never done before, that just is such fucking cliche PR talk. And for me, right, like, this Cyberpunk, because I've spoken in the last couple of weeks about goodwill built with Witcher, but that goodwill is gone. Like, they had goodwill to some extent with me because I respected The Witcher, even though, like we spoke about, didn't ever want to play it. But I respected that game big time. I've got 1 and 2. I've got 2 and 3, and I played them to some extent, but like I wasn't invested for reasons we spoke about.
Same here. I played them, but it didn't draw me back into it. But
not at all.
I don't put that down to the game developer's fault. It wasn't a game I liked.
Totally.
I don't. A bad game.
Yeah, the game itself seems like what it needs to be. If there was minor things different, well, not even minor. Well, there were changes to things like character creation and.
Apparently, even that game released with a load of bugs, and it took 2 or 3 big patches to get it to where it became good.
It did, which is why I don't really have too much. I don't have so much doubt that they're going to clean up Cyberpunk at the time.
Oh God, no! It will become what it's promised, but it's.
But I don't think it still will become what it's promised. I think, like, when you look at that hand-to-hand combat, there's nothing new, and like it's been described as just like standard at best. Like, you know, it's just like Skyrim seems like it has better combat hand to hand than Cyberpunk.
Well, and that was released in 2012, I believe.
It was, and that is, I'm not even slating Skyrim because I actually like that combat in Skyrim. It's simple.
Oh, Skyrim Remastered's on the blooming Game Pass. I'm so tempted to download it and just mess about with the mods.
Me too. I've been very. Also, there is another game on Games Pass. Well, I remember. I don't think it's going to be very good. It's called Code Vein. I've played the demo. I don't think it's going to be very good, but it's a Souls-like game, and if we can co-op on that, that might be fun.
I mean, you're not selling it to me, but I'll check it out after this.
Well, I don't know. I was going to message you about it the other day, but I've been to and fro whether I want to play it or not. But it's got great character creation, and it's a Souls-like that we can co-op for free. So there's that. But yeah, to come back, Cyberpunk, I don't think the gunplay looks anything special at all. Like, at all. This whole idea of being immersed in the game, which is what they tried to sell us on the first-person perspective, like I'm just as immersed in a game like, I'm just trying to think of like a standard third person, like Metal Gear Solid. I am seriously immersed. I am so immersed. I know it's a different argument, but I mean,
if you're trying to build a game, you want a world which you feel involved in. And I've not watched a great deal of Cyberpunk because, quite frankly, I don't enjoy playing games with bugs. I'm not going to enjoy watching games with bugs.
Same.
As a pleasure. If I want to see a crappy bug, I'll Google a 2-minute YouTube video. But Red Dead Redemption 2 is hailed as a fantastic game.
Oh,
and that game makes you feel immersed. It's a game which makes you feel that even if I'm not playing it, the world will still carry on. People will still go shopping. Cattle will get reared. The world lives on without me being in it.
There's videos just around the ambience of Red Dead, just watching somebody through their day. They just watch one guy do what he does over the course of an in-game day, and it's fucking great. It's like not mind-blowing, but he does different things and moves around and goes to bed. Like, it's
like he's a real person, not an algorithm programmed into some code.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem. I don't know what the world's like. Apparently the world was meant to be great, but I think I watched a quick review on it, which was What Culture said 10 things we can't believe Cyberpunk needs to fix. One of which, oh mate, that's a video. If you've not seen it, you got to check it out. It's hilarious.
I'll check out straight after this.
I'll run through the cliff notes. Police, they don't have cars. You can get a 6-star wanted level, get in a car, drive for 2 minutes, bang, police gone. They don't drive. Same with enemy gangs. That's the big one. The other one is there are NPCs which just the movements of the NPCs are very similar from district to district. There's no real unique feel to a majority of the NPCs, and that's basic stuff.
That is basic. Like, I mean, just like what we spoke about, like with the Red Dead NPCs, you know, and not saying that's a basic game, but Rockstar have been doing it for years. Rockstar have been having a convincing.
They're the gold standard of. I mean, GTA is not an RPG, but I suppose you can open world gaming and RPGs overlap somewhat because they're all. The world is a important feature.
Red Dead feels like Red Dead feels about as close as you can get to an RPG without being an RPG because
it's basically an RPG without a skills tree, which is all an RPG is, giving you multiple paths to develop your character.
You can still develop skills in that game, and there are perks. So, like, you can make your character. Your character will have more health as the game progresses.
Oh yeah, but that's a generic game thing. I'm thinking more like if you play Skyrim, you've got like you got alchemy, archery, one-handed, two-handed, bows and arrows, magicka, and you can focus on one or two of them and become a god, or focus on them all and be a bit useless. So I think that is truly what gives you an RPG. And the games like Rockstar and that are as close to an RPG, but without that skills tree.
Yeah, but they're definitely fucking touching on it, and almost in the MMO sector now as well with Red Dead. Like, just the way that they're almost Red Dead and GTA are almost becoming their own. They've always been known as a jack of all trades, and now they're almost becoming a jack of all trades with regards to the type of game it is, whether it be MMO, RPG, action adventure.
The problem being, well, not the problem, but the issue for everyone else is they're getting very good at it.
Yeah. Well,
GTA was released 2013, 7 years ago, and up until at least last year, I still might continue now, they're in the top 10 game sales.
Yeah.
7 years later, across 3 console generations, because I guarantee it will be on an Xbox One S.
And I'd wager that the first installment even of Grand Theft Auto 5 on the 360, I still think that is ahead of where Cyberpunk seems to me to be now.
If I was given a choice between playing one or the other, it would be GTA. No competition, because it's crap.
Yeah, basically.
Even when it's good, you know, you're just one wrong move away from a crash, especially on Sony consoles. And apparently it's something to do with the game has to install a load of memory for game textures, for movement, for dialogue, for all the things. And it'll get to a point where the PS is like, can't do any more, crash.
I'm interested to know what the file size of Cyberpunk is, especially what it will be by the end of the. Oh, that's a good bet for next week. I've got next week's bet. Let me write it down.
Yeah, I get you. But games, just because there's a patch, doesn't necessarily increase the overall game size. I know Call of Duty Warzone got a lot of flack for the big updates, but sometimes you'd have a 100 gigabyte update, and it somehow would reduce the overall file size, which
yeah.
But
that's
it
good.
doesn't necessarily increase the size, but I mean, it's going to have to, because it's missing so much. Somebody sent me a video the other day of they were running around with a gun, and they're just like this. There's no gun in their hands. They're just pretending.
What?
Proper role play.
Apparently, Cyberpunk is 70 gigabytes. And that
seems low for the type of game. Red Dead was over 100. There's your problem. They've not. I mean, I've simplified it, but there's your problem, CD Projekt Red.
I'm just looking on Screen Rant just to give them a little bit of a big up. And the title is Why Cyberpunk's File Size is So Much Bigger on PS5. So apparently it's got a much bigger file size. But wouldn't that probably come down to the PS5 games? Because PS4 games are bigger than PS3 games just by their nature. So
Yeah, they can fit more in because the console can cope with more. That would just be natural progression.
And I don't know if the title is asking it. No, the title's not even asking it as a question. It's telling us the answer. You know, it's a statement, not a question. But yeah, so that doesn't surprise me anyway.
This whole Cyberpunk debacle, I love that word,
Yeah, it's good,
for me, brings up a massive problem with gaming in itself, which I mentioned to you briefly before, but like, there are people that are sat there like, oh yeah, there are bugs and glitches and it doesn't work, but it's still a great game. Like, no, that's not a great game.
Yeah, that's like
that's a game that isn't finished with lots of problems, and the likes of 2K20, WWE 2K20, and Fallout 76 have all had similar issues at launch, and game developers and the developers, and then there's what would be an Activision? What are they called?
Oh, like a producer.
Yeah, but there's a proper. It's not anyway. There's people that make it, and there's people that market it, and people that have like overall control.
Yeah.
They're just pushing out unfinished games, and people are happy with it, and that's a problem because it's just going to get worse. This could be the straw that broke the camel's back, but I doubt it. Because they've just made record money.
I've always considered them producers. Like, you got the devs who develop the game, and then the producers, just like people who put money up. But like in like film terms, at least. But,
yeah, they're the money man. There is a word in gaming for it. I mean, it's probably a normal word, it's not specific to gaming, but I can never remember what it is. It'll come to me.
It'll come.
But
looking at Activision Home, actually, see how they describe themselves, but
it's a bit like
they don't.
In a similar vein. It's not the same situation in that they released a broken game, but Marvel's Avengers was a license to print money. You have the global franchise of the Avengers made billions at the box office, put together with the video game industry, which year on year makes more money than cinema and music combined, and they fucked it up by just trying to, I don't know what they went for, but too much corporate input.
Yeah, because you've got, I hate things that always have the vibe of the focus groups. You know, like,
yeah.
That's been my biggest, like,
pet peeve?
No, gripe with Star Wars movies post Disney was that it all felt very much like they were trying to adhere to feedback they've got from focus groups, and they were trying to hit a certain rhythm, and they had a pattern, and it just felt all too formulated for me, rather than just being a nice organic story. But
you look at a company like Cyberpunk, and you think they'd be worlds away from that, because of their reputation. So basically, you can have a really good premise, i.e. Marvel's Avengers, and then fuck it up by being too corporate, or you can take a great IP like Cyberpunk and fuck it up for, at this point, we don't know. It's had 8 years. Why is it in this state?
I just think that it's just a classic oversell. Like, they've overpromised hard. Like, I think that I don't know if they've used a different marketing crew, or they were just super confident, or they believed what they were saying. But like, I just think that they just oversold this, because if this did not have the same fanfare, because I don't think Witcher 3 by itself created that fanfare. They created this fanfare by making all these big promises. Then I think that, like, if this game coming out, I wouldn't be so down on it. I'd just be like, okay, I still feel like that's a game I'm not really interested in. But like, now I just think that it's a joke. Like,
they promised the world and delivered a fucking basketball.
Big time, man. Like, under promise.
Basketball.
Yeah. Always under deliver. Like, no.
Under promise, over deliver.
Always over fucking deliver. Yeah, it's a joke. So Cyberpunk, I think we can say at this point of the shit show, just continually stays interesting to keep track of. But at the same time, I have I've never had a game I'm so interested in that I definitely just do
don't
not
want to play.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't know if it's like I don't want to play it. Like not even I think I said this back before it was even released, before we knew it was a shit show. That it just doesn't interest me. Like I don't feel like it's a game I want to play.
I love the idea that we can keep a podcast going for like a long time based around a game that we hate
Yeah.
and have not played.
Yeah.
Just the ultimate pricks. Like we've got a podcast about Cyberpunk and we've never played it and we don't like it. That is the day and age
That's
we live
money.
in. That's money. That's money. Cyberpunk podcast. Cyberpunk
I mean, very good reason. Like I think there are a lot of people that will be watching this with vivid interest and not wanting to play it. Because this could be the turning point in games have not being released broken. But then again, it's made a shitload of money. So next time this happens, the producers, or whatever the hell they're called, the ones I can't remember, are just going to go, sod it, let's just release it. It's shit, we know, but we've already got 6 billion in pre-orders. Who gives a toss?
Like,
Let the developers play the flyers.
Think about things like Anthem as well. Like that had a lot of fanfare, basically flopped. EA are not giving up on it. They apparently don't want to, but like there's still things being put into Anthem, so that might be
like this,
that was a joke as well.
Games as a service thing, which started with Destiny. I think there's Destiny you can class as it, Division, Marvel's Avengers. And basically, without being a games as a service theory being you buy a game, but then there's constant updates for online play, meaning instead of just a story mode, you can play it with your friends, and every few months there'll be new content to revisit and play. It feels like all games are in that Venn diagram, but some are games as a service, constantly updated, and the other half is broken games constantly patched until they're good enough to play.
Yeah. Speaking of Marvel Avengers, I because we played the beta and
yes,
do you know what? I liked it. Like, but then as soon as we got to like the point where we'd done everything in the beta, we just like it was just like instant hard out. Like
it's just grinding.
But I like it, and like it was. I think it's still on offer for like 25 quid. And I've been to and fro with it, man. I really want to play it, but like
I will be joining you on that.
Well, the thing is, I want to play it, but like I feel like an idiot if I do. Like,
yes, you will be. I will call you an idiot.
But is that like, what is that?
By the way, the people that bought the game before this, I'm not calling you idiots because you bought it expecting a better game. Because there are people I know who bought it when there was a chance it could be good, but now we know. For those people that don't know what grinding is, it's essentially, say your character is level 5 and you need to beat a boss that's level 25. You just constantly fight people who are level 5 until you get to that point. So you have to grind your way up to the top point to fight the guy. And it is, by and large, boring crap. Some games do it well, most don't.
A lot of Final Fantasy games require grinding, and when I was younger and I played some of the earlier Final Fantasy games, I can't remember. I think it was maybe 10, maybe Final Fantasy 10. I didn't understand or didn't even think about grinding. So me and my mates would work our way through the story, and we would fight the bosses, and the bosses got progressively harder. We didn't realize because we were becoming under-leveled as the game was going. We just presumed that the game's getting harder. And then we got to a certain point. At this point, we're on like some kind of airship. There is no turning back. We only had one save file, and any save file prior to this location would have gone way back. We put about 25 hours in, and we just could not beat this boss. Every fight attempt was 45 minutes, and we would lose every single time. We just were not strong enough. We had not done the work. We had not done any grinding, and hence we're just under-leveled.
That's the negative. If you get to a point where you can't go back, you're stuck in this sort of loop of trying with very little chance.
And the thing is, in a game, some of these games, especially like games, it's not retro, but Final Fantasy X is pretty retro. It's like PlayStation 2. So
that's right.
Yeah, that's retro, but it's not like old RPGs. But the old RPGs won't even tell you when you've leveled enough. I mean, some of these will give you a hint. If that boss is level 20, then you know you need to be around level 20. But some of these games is like, when does the grind stop? So I was playing a game on PlayStation 4 last year, or this year even, Trails of Cold Steel, which is kind of like a very Japanese RPG, like a very JRPG type game. And there's a certain spot, and you can just grind it and get so much experience in this spot. And I'm grinding it. I'm like, is this enough? You know, like when will I know? Because there'll be certain points when I probably can't come back here. When will I know that it's not a waste to leave this spot? So you'll spend like an hour, maybe 2 hours fighting the same enemies over and over again. On one hand, you're like, yeah, my character's getting fucking tough. On the other hand, it's like, this is a waste. Is this a waste of life? And then,
yeah, like,
you know,
the way you do grinding is by having a variety of places and enemies to grind against. So you're not just fighting the same old enemies. The exception that proves the rule maybe is Pokemon, because that is a grind fest. The entire game is leveling up your Pokemon against fucking Pidgeys to go and fight an Onix in the gym. What? Oh, I should know that.
this is a very interesting
The Pewter Gym.
This is such an interesting point you brought up, because I almost brought up Pokemon just now, but on the opposite vein, because there are two types. So I have got limited experience with Pokemon, but this year I have fully got into Pokemon, right? And I've watched a number of episodes from different shows. I've watched a couple of there's an anime movie called Origins, which is based on the very first game. I've watched quite a few playthroughs. I've like studied this game, man. I've played through Sword, I've played through Crystal, all the way through Crystal, all 16 badges, and fought Red at the top of the mountain. I've played some Pokemon this year, but I'm still entry level Pokemon. And we've even got cards, which we need to keep coming back to. So we can get into cards. So I'm getting into a lot of the elements of it, and I love it. So, but there are one of the things I fucking love about Pokemon. I guess we are just going to segue into Pokemon now. One of the things I fucking love, because it's about time. One of the things I fucking love about Pokemon is there are kind of two schools of thought. There are probably more schools of thought than that, but there are really two. And one of them is like, for some of the games, like in the more recent games, your rival is like the weaker guy, like Hop in Sword. When whatever Pokemon you pick as your starter, he will pick the one it's weak to, right? Whereas in earlier Pokemon games, it's the other way around. Whatever Pokemon you pick, your rival picks the one that you're weak to.
You pick grass, they pick fire, because fire burns grass.
Yes. And then in some of the more modern ones, it's the other way around. And your rival is more of like a number two to you. He's always in your shadow. Whereas in the first couple of games, it seemed that unless you were really hot on it, your rival was just that, and he was someone to be concerned about. Now, one of the things I played, when I played through Sword, I was like, this game's just going to let me get as strong as I want to be. And I just fucking did some grinding, and my characters were beefed up, and I didn't have a challenge.
No, Pokemon do have that thing. I don't know if you ever experienced this, where if you grind too much and your Pokemon go over levels, they will not obey you because you haven't got the right gyms to control them.
Yeah, I love that. I've never done that. I've always kept them within my control. Always kept.
But you sat there saying, "Breathe fire on him." Nah.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Punched in the face by a rock.
That makes sense though, because they don't respect you. Because if they're stronger than you, because that's one of the whole crazy like anime levels to Pokemon. Because like, so you can play it and think all this kind of things, but like that world is such a different world. It's not like this is a world that just happens to have Pokemon. Pokemon are a fucking staple of that world. They are part of that world. So when these fighters are fighting each other, it's like the trainers are fighting as well. So in some of the anime episodes, like the trainers get knackered when the thingies get knackered. They're like connected and shit. Like JoJo, it's like a stand. It's like an extension. They're connected.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I love that. So there's two schools of thought, and one of them is to like get. So yeah, to finish the point, if they're stronger than you, they don't respect you because you're connected and blah. You've got to keep that balance and equilibrium and all that, and that's another thing I like. But yeah, so once you get, there are people that will train up the Pokemon and get super strong so that you don't really have a challenge. But then there's the other way of playing it, because you can just power through with strength. But then strength, right, is there's a great line at the end of Pokemon Crystal, stroke silver, stroke gold. And it's the Elite Four, and it's Elite Four Karen. And she says, when you beat her, she says, strong Pokemon is the, I'm paraphrasing here, but strong Pokemon is the selfish wishes of the trainer, of humans, she says. She's like, really, a true skilled trainer wins with their favorites. And there's going to be some translation in there. But I fucking loved it. When I saw it, I was like, that is deep. Because you can have the strongest Pokemon in the fucking world, right? But if I come at you and put you to sleep, you're completely useless. You know what I mean? And
for years, I always like had two. I don't say strategies because I was never thinking, oh, if this happens, I can do that, and blah, blah, blah. Basically, I'd have some Pokemon that would just hit you hard and do damage, like a punch. And then I'd have the grass types, which you use sleep powder, poison powder, paralysis, and I think there's another one. There's also like leech seed. So stuff that would affect the Pokemon without necessarily damaging them.
Plants are like the Uchiha Naruto reference. I'll explain it. Plants are like the Uchiha of Pokemon, in that like they're all about like the Genjutsu. Any Naruto watchers are popping right now. It basically what they do is they're more about like in Naruto you've got three schools of fighting. You've got like physical fighting, taijutsu, and you've got like it's called ninjutsu, but I don't know how you describe it. But it's like trickery and shit. But then you've got genjutsu, which is all like psychological stuff. There are characters that can hypnotize you, put you to sleep, make you see things that aren't really there, make you not see things that are there. So they're all like it's very tactical, and that's kind of how the plant types are, grass types in Pokemon. They're my favorite types because I love all that. I can't remember what fight it was in, but it was in, I think it was probably Crystal because it's harder. But there's just games where my characters were just like embarrassed, you know, like I was just mutilated. I had more of a Scooby about it, and I had a combination of characters that would use. I had a good flow going. Off the top of my head, I had fucking the plant. Is it Whistle Bell?
Weeping Bell?
Weeping Bell.
Spell, Weeping Bell, Victory Bell.
Weeping Bell, so the middle one, the middle evolution.
What did you say? Crying Bell.
I don't know what I said. Weeping Bell. That sounds fucking filth.
Okay, carry on. Weeping Bell.
Poliwhirl. The one just before Poliwrath.
Yep.
I had I can't remember the name because I'm just thinking of the nickname, but it was the fire type from Silver and Gold and Crystal, which is
Cyndaquil.
I called him Lava King, but
Typhlosion.
Typhlosion evolved all the way up.
Yep.
Stick. So I had some fire there. I had a Geodude. What do they? Is that the final evolution?
You got Geodude, which is the rock with 2 arms. You got the Graveler, which is the big rock with 4 arms, and then Golem, which is a bigger rock with 2 arms and with like a weird mole head.
The middle one, then Graveler. Did you say? Graveler, and then I had 2 legendaries. So one of the legendaries was
Pakia, Dialka. Is that the ones from Crystal?
I think so.
We have a dog, sweet Hello Lugia.
Oh no, it wasn't Ho Lugia because I couldn't find them for whatever reason. It was a different one.
Suicune, Raikou, Entei.
One of those 3, but I don't know which one.
Okay.
But yeah, and then someone else who I can't remember. But yeah, so Crystal was a sick game. Just sick. I love playing that, and I think that like I'm very much of the school where, because some people won't grind, and like you can see some. I've not watched any even, but I want to watch some speed runs because there are people that just have some crazy strat going through those games, and like there's some crazy things you can do. So I think that like Pokemon is not so much. It allows you to grind as much as you want, but I think that grinding is the dark side of Pokemon, and I think that the light side is You want to grind a
I mean,
little
there
bit.
are definite points
You
where
wanna
you
grind a
do
little bit.
grind. There are definite points where you have to grind.
You don't have to, but yes, yeah, I agree. But
There'll be points where you cannot fight the next gym leader without doing a few hundred.
well, the thing was when I went through Sword and Crystal, and I never felt like I did like. I will admit, Sword, I went out of my way to grind in areas when I realized I could stay there and just grind forever. But Crystal, like, I don't feel like I did any grinding because I would just, as I make my way somewhere, I would just make use of any fight I got into. And,
Oh god, yeah, that's one way of doing it. I tend to avoid them, which turned out to be like probably increased the need to grind. So
yeah, because if you just fight everything that gets in your way between each town, then you're going to be
probably
relatively
they've probably got decent balance on that side of things.
Definitely. But here's the thing. I really enjoy grinding on Pokemon. I like just going into the long grass and just fighting different creatures and testing out my creatures in a very safe environment where it's 6-on-1 every time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm safe.
There's something you should try. You know Femi. We've like been applied together. We tried doing it together, but I just haven't got the commitment or the time or the blah. But there's something called a Nuzlocke challenge. You ever heard of that?
I feel like I know the word Nuzlocke from something.
It might be different, but basically in Pokemon, the Nuzlocke challenge is you start with your Pokemon. I mean, there are many different versions and different rules, but the idea is you start with a Pokemon, you go into a new area, the first Pokemon you catch, that goes into your party. And then that happens 6 times, and then those are your 6 Pokemon to last. So you might end up with like a Weedle, a Rattata, a Pidgey, the most basic. If the Pokemon gets knocked out, it's dead. Take it to the PC, let it go, get a new Pokemon, or maybe you lose that slot for good, depending on the challenge.
Are you allowed to use, depending on the challenge, presumably, but you've got to be allowed to use healing items between fights, though, presumably?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, obviously. Well, I mean, I'm sure there are some crazy-ass people that don't. Nah. But
I don't like fighting the AI. I feel like I'm cheap now. I've become like a bit of, I don't know what the word would be, but like, I am not like, when I'm fighting somebody, like, if you actually play another human or you go into the battle tower in certain games, there's no healing items allowed.
Huh.
But they're allowed to carry something. So they're allowed to carry or they're allowed to use their own healing powers. I just like to fight like that. So I actually have got to a point now where I don't use healing items unless I'm super desperate and I really want to win this fight, like super desperate. They have used it first.
I've always avoided it just because I feel like it kind of negates the difficulty. I know there are loads of gym leaders that are like, oh, one more hit. Oh, Brad's used full restore.
And then I use one.
Brad, fuck you.
But then if he does that, though, I just think, fine, because I've got 100 in my pocket. So I've got fucking loads. I've got like 100. I've got like 500,000 Poké-dollars. You know, I
never liked healing in Pokemon games. I felt like if that Pokemon gets knocked out, that's fine.
Yeah, I must say, like, I fucking love it. Like, I'm so late to the party on Pokemon, but like, I think that like, it appeals to lots of different crowds for different people. Well, not lots of different crowds, maybe 2 or 3 different crowds. You've got the game strategy, kind of like all the shit we're talking about that I love. Then you've got like the cutesy kind of cutesy Pokemon, which some of the Pokemon do look fucking cool, but like that appeals to like my little boy. He loves like certain Pokemon. Like Mimikyu is his favorite one.
a friend of mine is quite big into Pokemon. He's got a little boy, and so he started watching some of the episodes. And one of the episodes, Diglett. Diglett's quite big in the episode, and the Diglett's just running going dig 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 dig. So now this little 4-year-old is just running around the house going dig 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 dig.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
You will get that considering like every sound they make is just an instant like lock for a kid, isn't it? You know, it's so easy for a kid to quote any Pokemon pretty much. So yeah, there's that side, and then there's like something in between where you know there's something else that caught you in it. But yeah, love Pokemon. I think we've been going about 40 odd minutes, and I think this is where we could easily talk for another 45. But keeping conscious of time, I think.
I was gonna say we can easily segue into our next one because in Pokemon you can do tag team battles. tag team battles are a co-op gaming method.
Which is something that we tried, and I think this is a perfect subject to maybe finish on, because we didn't play much of it, but we did play a bit of it. I presume we were talking about Wasteland 3.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm actually quite... I think since you mentioned like 65,000 times an hour, I actually kind of like it.
Good.
But not on my own. I think
Oh.
if I was to play it on my own, I'd be bored very much.
Okay.
But playing it with somebody else, because I don't really care for the story. So that's why I kept giving you control of what they said, because you can do all the boring story crap I don't care about, then I can just have fun in the tactical battle.
I did not expect that, actually, because I've not really picked your brains between us playing it, because when we were playing it, when you had to go, I think, so, or whatever, we didn't.
I also think I was really sleepy at that point. I think I was there like, quick, give him the control.
Yeah, so, and I never really spoke to you much about it then, and then I haven't spoken to you about it much since. So I actually, wasn't sure what you'd think, because I love that game, and I love the type of battles, and I'm happy to sit there for a fucking hour between moves just looking at the field. So like when you're taking your turn, I can just sit there and just look at stuff, and I love it. So I was conscious that you might find that a bit boring.
I think at the moment because we're like literally one mission in, it's probably really hard to die. So I'm not thinking that much about where I'm going, what I'm doing. Also, I don't quite understand how some of the energy works. So I'm still learning. So at the moment I'm just like, enemy there, shoot him, done. Yeah. But I think when it gets harder and there's more people and I know what I'm doing, I'll be a bit more critical about my moves.
The game is
chess. It's chess with guns.
It is. It's chess with guns. Why I like XCOM so much, because XCOM is a more sophisticated version of this. So and XCOM is in my opinion, I've played loads of games like this, and there'll be people out there that have played 20 times more than me. I've played loads of games like this, and I really, really love them. But I think that XCOM is the best one. XCOM is the best. But Wasteland, what Wasteland does, they all do it quite well, but Wasteland really does let you in nicely. Like, it doesn't chuck you in the deep end by any means. And if we're in our co-op situation as well, regardless of what happens, you've always got, like, me to lean on.
Let's take it 4 times.
I think, though, because we've got a party of 2 at the moment. It's me and you. Now, I think that I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm hoping that you control 3 and I control 3 when the party starts to increase. And when that starts to happen, you can have some really interesting things. But mate, I actually, because I didn't know if you were ever going to come back to it, but yeah, I am, the fact that like you could give me control and I can go through it, I predict that as we go through things, because our actions are going to actually have consequences, you will start to care about the story. Because the moment we come across somebody and you're just like, fucking kill him, boom, and then we start to see of that happening, then it's going to be like, oh, I really want to listen to what this person's going to say because we killed his cat in the previous town, And as you've seen,
I'm shooting it.
As you can see, that happens. We've got a cat on our team at the moment with a cowboy hat. Remember?
We have a cat?
But do you remember I found that cat and it started to follow my character around?
The perfect example of how little attention I was paying to the story because I have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
You have a cat. So in this game, one of the things I love is you can you'll get animals out in this world, and if they take a liking to you, they will just stick with your team. And they might be like weak as shit, but they will still fight with you. And I've had like a little dog get the killing blow on like a boss before, because it was just the right place at the right time. It's a really wacky game.
You control the animal?
You can get a perk called it's like you talk to animals basically, but my character doesn't have that, I don't think. But don't quote me on this, but you can have one where they are considered friendly, so they're effectively an NPC and they take their own turn. But I think if you can talk to them, I think you can make the move they become private party, but they don't take up a slot. So there's different levels to it. But there's a lot of like weird, crazy shit going on, and because it's from one of the same minds of the original Fallout, it's a similar world. But there's like the amount of you'll see like lots of human like cyborg like modification, lots of cyberpunk level stuff goes on in this game. You've got people that like you've got like kamikaze bombers. They're just like humans that have been turned into bombs basically, and they look really weird. And I love all that weird cybernetic cyborg crossover. Let's like human experimentation, science fiction. I love all that weird shit. I love it. So there's lots of that good. There's lots of that good gore in Wasteland. But yeah, mate, the thing is, I never recommend the game to somebody that I don't believe they would enjoy on some level. Like there are certain games I'm just not going to recommend to you. You know, like I would recommend you Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite because you love Marvel. But even though you might not like fighting games. But I wouldn't dream of recommending Street Fighter 5
because there's no crossover.
There's no crossover. But the Marvel, there's something in there. So I'd always try and recommend something. And the reason I like Wasteland is because the co-op element, I think, is very funny because it's tactical. We can like, there's banter in there. We're not rushed to like. It's not just chaos. It's like a slow. It's a slow moving game.
It's not like Battlefront where you've got to react immediately, where you have time to consider your actions.
Yeah, and there's some really cool stuff we can do to the app. So yeah, so we'll come back to Wasteland. I'm happy about that actually. I wasn't sure Wasteland was going to be your bag, and it might not still be.
It might not be, but it's definitely something I'd be happy to try again at some point.
That is like genuinely music to my ears. So
a few friends of mine now are just apparently. You heard of Among Us?
Yes.
Apparently, that's coming to console.
Yeah, I'll play it. Like, I Twitch stream it. That'd be funny.
I don't really know if it's exciting enough to Twitch stream because it's very like 2D, like cartoony, isn't it? It's not very action.
This game's taken the world by storm. Don't quote me on this. Don't quote me on this, but I think one of at least the highest views Twitch ever had was somebody playing Among Us the other week.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but
it's a heavy Twitch game, man.
Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't watch it. To be fair, I don't ever watch Twitch. I don't think I've ever watched anyone stream a game in my life.
Have you not? Not even on YouTube, like a Let's Play or like.
I've watched the Let's Play, but I don't necessarily class that as streaming because streaming is the raw game somebody's playing it. You could watch an hour stream and be bored crapless. A Let's Play is a video designed to be entertaining.
What about somebody playing through top view on Twitch at the moment for Among Us 5.7 thousand viewers?
Yeah, it's not great numbers.
Not bad numbers.
There's the guy with a 16 view on his last video.
Who are we to judge?
Yeah, what?
Who are we to judge?
Exactly, but that's just my personal preference. I've watched Let's Plays. There's a guy that does Let's Play Hitman. He's not uploaded a video in like a year. He's very sporadic now. He's an Australian guy. I found it hilarious. He's the only Let's Play I've ever watched. I think I must have been into Hitman at the time, so I watched it. It was just funny.
There's a couple of games where I've not had the game, and I'm not sure if I want to get the game, so I've watched the game. Or recently, I don't have. I've not been able to get. I'm not gonna get. I don't intend to get a PlayStation 5 yet. There's nothing out for it.
Spider-Man Miles Morales?
Well, I want a PlayStation 5. There's games out for it, but there's nothing I think that makes it worth 500 quid just yet. Plus, it's hard to get one at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Consoles always have issues in the first year or so. I like to let the games come out, let the consoles build momentum.
Yeah.
I've still got plenty of games I'm playing at the moment on the current consoles, so I'm cool.
That's the thing. Like, we're running up 50 minutes now, so we might have to start running down in a few.
Let's wrap it up. Yeah.
I've never been one to begin with. Up until this point, I've never been in a financial position to go out and buy it day one. But now I am in a financial position to buy it day one. I have no interest in it. This time next year, maybe. But even for the next 2 years, anything released on Xbox Series X it's going to be on a 1.
I need something that's really going to take me over. There is one game that I desperately want to play, which is what I watched the video of. It was Demon Souls, and because like I don't want to get that PlayStation 5 just yet, I started watching Demon Souls, and I watched it all the way through. I watched the chap called Lobos Jr. play through Demon Souls, and I never watch it in one sitting, but I watched like it might be 15 minutes here, it might be an hour here, but I got through the whole thing, and I watched that entire game. So I've done that lots of times as well.
Didn't you do that with Jedi Fallen Order as well?
I watched all the cutscenes for Jedi Fallen Order, but I didn't watch the gameplay. I just watched the storyline, so I knew.
Someone that's played the gameplay, wasn't much there.
Yeah, well, I didn't. I played Fallen Order the first level, and I was just meh.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I really want to carry on and play this game. And then after like the second world, I was like, nah, I'm done.
You've got Battlefront 2. Like we've said in the past, we've got Battlefront 2. You need to come at me with something stronger than Battlefront 2, basically, to get my interest.
I'll probably be playing that in about 20 minutes after we finish this video, so feel free to jump on.
I'll probably join you. So I think like we'll leave it there for the subject. We've as always, we have a wealth of subjects to talk about and draw on. Shitloads, actually. I think as we move forward, I want to do much more screen sharing, because I watched all of our previous podcasts back to back, and I enjoyed segments where we had something on in the background, even if it was just an image of Cyberpunk. It was nice. It worked the real low effort, really nice thumbnail as well. So I really like that. What's that?
Simple but effective.
Yeah, simple but effective, mate. So anyway, we'll wrap it up now. So let's just finish off as we usually finish off with a bet. The bet I've got is for next week. Now I've not done, because I came up with it mid-cast, there is a chance we may not be able to get solid numbers next week, but we're not like, we don't care really. We're just looking for an average.
Thinking about it, to the best of my knowledge, the 2 big patches aren't until next year, so it might not be a good time to do this.
We'll do it anyway. We'll just see what happens. If it is, then it just helps the bet. So currently, Cyberpunk 2077, when I Googled the file size, was 70 gigabytes. I'm going to Google it again right now, because I just want to make sure that I was looking at a specific console, because if I've just got the PS4 numbers, then next week inevitably if I looked at the PS5 numbers, it's going to be bigger if we're looking at the size of the file. So Cyberpunk 27 current file size, and
you won't find a current file size on a Sony because it ain't bloody there.
Yeah, that's true, of course. Yeah, so there's no point using the Sony one.
No. It could be 1 gigabyte, it could be 100 gigabytes. It ain't there. It don't matter. That'll be a good question. When will it be back on the store?
Yeah, well, it may be never. The download size for the game on Xbox has been shown as 59.49 gigabytes. Now, it just says Xbox there.
I'm pretty sure Red Dead Redemption was 120. It was definitely over 100.
It's maybe 101. I think that's the check. So
we're just very small size for a game with that ambition.
We're just going to assume that 59 is Xbox 360. No, Xbox One. Sorry. If anybody watches, feels inclined to comment and correct me, carry on. That'd be very helpful. If not, we're just going to go with that. So 59.
Well, if it was an Xbox 360 sized file, that would explain why it's so shit.
Yeah, it would. It would. To be honest, would it? Because I'd expect bigger games from that, even as we said earlier with GTA. When so the last bet was Wonderwoman. How much would Wonderwoman have grossed by the time we posted this we recorded this podcast? Yeah. Also, retrospectively, when I was doing the last week's bet and I wasn't sure how I'd phrased it, the week prior I had phrased it exactly how we had presumed I had phrased it. So we were bang on the money. So you said that globally Wonder Woman would have grossed by now 30 million.
Yeah, definitely.
Dollars or pounds, but we're going to go with dollars, yeah?
Yeah, that's way over. I don't even think it's been released in the UK because there's like 4 cinemas open nationwide.
Yeah, I said 6. So let's get back on. I might have a second bet. I might be on a string of wins here. Wonder Woman.
That's why we're both over 100. Be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Although by that point, technically, I'm right. So I'm closer. So.
I thought then. I was looking at this one. Do you know that worldwide grossing for the original Wonder Woman was 821 million? So like we would have been, but there wasn't a COVID going on then, so that's why.
And also, it looks pretty. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the film's about. Steve comes back, and it's set in 1984. That's all we got. Oh, there's also a weird tiger woman.
Well, I think this one goes to you, Chris, because around 80 million apparently, the 65 million budgeted animated. Oh, animated! Good job, I bloody looked at that. Right, let's just go on it. Box office, Wonder Woman. Oh yeah, I think maybe at one. I need to stop teasing and just read. So
get to the meat of the article.
Okay, so the box office Wonder Woman.
I don't understand what is taking you so long to find this information.
I'm looking at Forbes and they're just not giving me what I want straight away.
What's it called? It's called 1984, isn't it?
1984.
Oh, what a guess.
Well, it did 7 million in China.
That's great. So it's at least 7 million.
Yeah, this is it.
Okay, I would be quicker if my phone didn't suck.
Why is it taking so long for you to find this? Okay.
Have you got anything yet? Because my phone sucks. Oh my god, this is great viewing, guys. Like, this is top quality.
Next week we'll definitely get the answer before the podcast, so I can just hit it with it.
Hold on. Oh, I think we're probably on the same thing, but
Forbes.
Yeah. Jumanji. Nope.
Sounds like there's something about Jumanji.
In China. Wonder Woman looking to lasso over 60 million.
How many?
Literally, like, I've literally typed in Wonder Woman, or I've actually typed in Wonder Woman 1984 worldwide gross, and it's just giving me China.
International international box office theatrical performance. This is bad. So Wonder Woman 1984 2020 domestic box office not available. International box office $300,000. Worldwide box office $300,000. This is from a website called The Numbers, where data and the movie business meet. That's what the website's called. TheNumbers.com. The-numbers.com. I mean,
I don't feel like this information is available at the moment, because I'm on Box Office Mojo by IMDb, and they just haven't got any gross domestic or international.
Well, I mean, international releases 17th, 23rd, 25th, and 26th of December. So, I mean, it's only even out in China. Like you said, China. So the only place it's even out is China. Now, we've got Forbes telling us that it looks to have grossed 7 million, and we've got the numbers telling us 300,000. What that means, because
no one knows.
No, but what that means is that the only numbers we're able to find, regardless, indicate that in fact, am the winner again. Because whether it's 300,000 or 7 million, that's still, I picked 6 million.
Yeah, I'm not counting that. No.
I think we need to count, because this is what we're getting the numbers from. These bets are very fast and loose. They're very unofficial, and they're very whatever information we can find. Part of the fun of these bets is that it's like this. It's on the fly. It's cool. This is what's cool.
No! I'm not. I'm fucking Donald Trumping this thing. Conceding to you on that. That's the worst assumption in the fucking election.
I think
this person says this country's made 300,000. This person says this person says the same country's made 7 million. No other country, and 2 completely different estimates.
Look, this numbers looks pretty good to me. have we got some kind of messaging thing on here that I can quickly send you this link and you can look at the exact same thing?
I don't care because, right, if you were to take 300,000 and upscale it to 7 million, if you were then to take 7 million, then upscale it by the same trajectory, it would probably surpass 30 million. So
But
if
it's
you were
only
to...
been, but the bet was this. This is what the bet was. The bet was, how much would Wonder Woman have grossed internationally, like worldwide, by this time next podcast? It's only been released.
We don't know the answer.
But listen, it's only been released in China, so that still counts as worldwide because that's as far as we can get it. Forbes says 7 million looks to have, right? So, I mean, it's still closer to 6 million even if we give it the benefit of the doubt.
This is under the assumption. This is under the assumption it's a worldwide release, not one country in Asia.
No, but this is it. This is what whether it's one country or 100 countries. What is the combination of what it has made gross profit worldwide is what is made in China.
300,000 or possibly 7 million.
But yeah, but even if it's both, even if you combine those numbers, I still win.
Yeah, but also if you were, like I say, 300,000 to 7 million, if you then do that with 7 million upwards, because that's a very big thing.
No, I cannot believe you're not giving me this or not allowing this to fly.
If China, right, if every big country does if 4 big countries does 7 million, I win.
Yeah, but it's only been released in China. It's not been released anywhere else yet. So
we didn't know that when we made the bet because I thought it was released on the 12th.
That was part of the bet, though. What would it have done? We don't know the details, but what's it going to do? It was quite on the fly. I get it. This is mine. This is my win.
Like me betting with you. I bet at some point 2 people would have kicked a football in the football match, and then going, "Oh wait, no. We've stopped it 1 second into the match because there's been an injury and the kickoff is the only touch that's gone, so I win the bet."
No, because ours was much more general. The bet was simply this. I'll read it verbatim.
Yes, assuming it had been a worldwide release. Otherwise it would have been. No, you cannot tell me, right, that if we knew it was only going to be released in China, the bet wouldn't have been, how much do you think Wonder Woman would have made in China?
I honestly think this, right? If we went back and watched last week's episode,
I'm not getting you wrong. I am sure that is what we said, but we didn't know the circumstances of the release.
What I'm saying is, I would wager, I reckon there's even a moment where one of us says something to the effect of, what if it's only come out in one country then? And the other one was like, then we'll just count that. I feel like that was said. And here's the question verbatim. How much will Wonder Woman have grossed by this time next podcast globally?
I agree. That is what was said. But globally insists there's a lot of releases.
Oh, man. I reckon, for this next bet's going to be a nightmare next week.
Playing on words.
So this is
the spirit of the bet with you.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We can't stick around on this bet. We can't get proof now. We have to make an executive decision and move forward. And I vote that we take the numbers we have so that we've got a winner, me, and then we move forward with our lives.
Okay, executive decision means one person, so there is no votes, because I vote we wait till next week, or we wait until it has been released in worldwide theatres.
No, because that defeats the object. It was simply how much will it have grossed by this time next week with any combination of money we can find throughout the world, and it's looking like 7 million at most by now.
Okay then, neither of us win because it's made no money because it cost 70 odd million to make, therefore it's lost 63 million.
But I'm still closer.
But it didn't make any money, so the bet is void.
Well, how much is it grossed then? 0 minus its gross minus X amount. It has grossed something, whether that's a minus or a plus.
business term for minus growth. Loss. It's lost money. It's
Yeah, but
lost
honestly,
63 million.
yeah, but you know, like a lot of financial talk is like that, where it'd be like, oh, gross minus, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, I'm not an accountant.
I'm still, and no matter how you want to swing this, I'm closer.
Yeah, to a bet which is basically not finished.
Or the winner of the bet gets to big up a video. I will even let you big up the video if I
I
can
got
still
the
take the win.
I got the videos to big up. I
But
just know I'm
what do you care so much?
because you've got immoral victory. Do your bloody bigger.
Okay, so I win this week's bet, and
No,
and what we will say is that next week's bet, well, for the record, next week's bet was going to be what will Cyberpunk 2077's file size be this time next week on Xbox. Now, at the moment, we've got it. We've got it as 59. We've got it as 59.49 gigabytes currently up on Google. That is from the 8th of December, mind. Okay, so unless one of us actually downloads it, we may not know. So next
yeah, I mean
week,
that might be the last time it was updated. So
yeah,
it still might be good.
yeah. Now here's the thing. I'm going to use, this is from hitc.com, and it's the first result on Google. Yeah, I'm going to www. Well, who cares? It's the first result on Google. Okay. Now I'm gonna, and I've typed in on Google Cyberpunk 2077 current file size Xbox. So I'm gonna type that in again next week, right? When we record again. Now, if the same thing comes up, then it's 59.49. And if something else comes up, then it's that. That's how we're gonna do these bets, because whether it's real or not doesn't matter. It's just based on our little game. It doesn't matter. Like what comes up doesn't even matter. It's just whether it coincides with what we've said. So I'm even copying the wording, and I just really want to stress whatever comes up when I type that, whatever comes up is what we're gonna go with. And if it's exactly the same article, then that's what we're gonna go with. Okay. So I see you putting your number down. Now I'm gonna write my number down. Now also I've got a feeling that we might say the exact same number here. So there has to be a okay, let's just go for it anyway.
It's going overran more than either of us wanted it to.
I know. Let's go for it anyway. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna take a chance. I feel like there's gonna be big things this week. I'm gonna fuck it. Let's live life. Let's live life. I've got mine here. Should I do mine first, or do you want to do yours first? 100 gigabytes.
Wow. Yeah. You think it's almost doubled in size in a week?
I think there's going to be something big, and they're going to try and make up for it.
I agree, but not until the new year. I've gone with
59.4 for the record. So is that? Did you mean 59.49, as in it's not going to move?
Yeah, I get the same.
Yeah.
I rounded up. Oh wait, no, I didn't. No, I didn't.
You round down.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it will start. I don't think there'll be an update yet.
You think it will stay the same? Because I almost did that, so that's why I changed mine, because I thought.
You said.
Yeah.
Let's
live life on the wild side. So just let me write those down for everybody. So this week.
Fuck's sake.
59.49 for Chris, and I think 100. Okay. All right. So that is everything there. The video I would like to big up. Do you know what? Why not? I mean, it's because I mentioned it earlier on. The Demon Souls Let's Play. If you like Souls-like games like Dark Souls or Bloodborne or Demon Souls, then Lobos Jr. is a channel where you can find lots of playthroughs on those games, and he is good at those games. So I watched the Demon Souls playthrough on his channel, and if you're interested in Demon Souls, see what games like, that's probably a good place to start. He's got shitloads of viewers and subscribers, so I'm sure he doesn't need the plug. So the plug really more is for the viewer than him. So if you like Souls-like games, go check out Lobos Jr. If you haven't already heard of him, which you probably already have. But on that note, I think that was all I have to say on the subject. Chris, anything left to say before we sign off?
Give me 8 seconds.
Okay, give him 8 seconds. 8, 7, 6. Oh, what's this? At LT Roche Instagram. Have I got that right?
You have. I mean, I'm not picking it up. You are. I just pressed it down. So, I mean, you kind of fell for that one. But
I'd pick up anyone. LT Roche Instagram. I've never seen it. So if it turns out to be some kind of really weird, hardcore thing.
It's just a dude that buys and collects and sells really expensive Pokemon cards.
Cool. Check it out. We like Pokemon on this channel and on this.
Yeah, I suddenly realised we were spending like a good 20 minutes discussing Pokemon.
Well,
and I've been staring at Venusaur for the past hour and a half.
Oh, very nice. Well, how long have we got now, good sir?
Well, at least an hour and 10, and I think I start recording 4 minutes in, so maybe an hour 15. So we're cutting down.
So we're cutting down. And next week we'll get under an hour. But for now, thank you for watching. I'm going to stop the video, but not before we goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.